Welcome to Cups of Tea with Kim podcast, where we speak all things alignment, purpose, and practicalities. Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Cups of Tea with Kim podcast. And today I'm super excited because we have the gorgeous Penelope Teau with us today. And this is a very random and spontaneous recording. So I'm really grateful that Penelope is a woman who says yes and then thinks about it afterwards. But what we were going to talk about today is really have a conversation backwards and forwards. Now, Pen and I have known each other for a couple of years now, and we've really connected on a deep level, and we've done some work together. And one of the reasons, well, that I recall that we really connected and did some work together was that you, Penelope, felt like you wanted to expand your own spiritual connections. And it's not that they weren't there, but it was in having the conversations that you were able to stand more fully in that and take ownership of it. So I feel like that's a conversation that can really assist many people, because if we don't talk about these things, then we don't know, are we have we been using our natural gifts all along and we just didn't acknowledge it, or could we be deepening them on some level? So rather than me tell you why you came to connect with me, um, let what's your perspective on that? Is that an accurate reason, and where were you at? And then we can talk about where you're at now.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, firstly, thank you for inviting me to sit with you, Kim. You hold a very special place in my heart, and I always look forward to a chance to have a chat with you and sit with you. So this is spontaneous but very special. So thank you. Yeah, look, I think your account of the reasoning behind me reaching out to you is pretty accurate, and it was kind of out of the blue, but I feel like my whole life I've been extremely intuitive with having a sense for somebody's energy and somebody's intention, and kind of who they are as a person without even having much of a conversation. You just have that kind of sense. And from the first time I met you, I had this overwhelming sense that this little lady is someone that I want to be around. You have a beautiful energy, you have a beautiful way, and even just the energy that you put out without even, starting a conversation, it's something very special. So I have, yeah, from the start been very drawn to you, and I have that feeling with, particular people. And I think coming into a new phase of my life where I've left a lot of previous scenarios behind. So I think, starting in this new business venture a couple of years ago has opened my mind to, many, many different things and different ways of thinking. But one of those kind of catalysts was, a bit of an opening of a door for inquiry and kind of reflection and understanding of, firstly, who am I? And in our business, everything is centered around personal growth and development and understanding of our thinking and being. And how you kind of came into this situation, or how I came to gravitate towards you, was you offer and opened up this whole new world of I guess existing, being, thinking, understanding, appreciating, and being open to, these gifts and I guess intuition that we have within us that sometimes perhaps has been closed off a bit. So I was very curious, drawn to you, very curious. And the more that I got to know you and understand and look into what it is that, you stand for and you offer and you share, the more interested I became. So yeah, that's kind of, I guess, the intro, or the beginning of the journey, of the process. Does that kind of answer the
Yeah,
question.
yeah, yeah. Beautiful. That's really lovely. And I do feel those, those words very deeply. So I appreciate that. And I love that, you've really highlighted quite a few things there, in particular, around, because you came from a corporate background, right?
Yes.
So, generally in a corporate background, it's very masculine in its way. It's very focused on how we present and how we do work, and that it's very task focused, which of course we require that to succeed. But there's this other element, and it's the feminine energy, and that's really what we're speaking to, is how do you create success and bring in that feminine energy,
Mm.
so that you're not forcing all the time. And it's such a beautiful dance, and it's not one that I for a moment am going to pretend to say that I've got worked out, because the moment I feel like I've got something figured out, it just all you know falls apart again, and there's chaos, and there's another layer of looking at it.
Yeah.
But I do know the difference in how it feels in my body
Mm.
when I'm forcing something and when I'm in flow. So, we're speaking about those feminine energies. And what I'd love to hear from you is, from our conversation, so thinking back to when we started to sit together, um, that you bring up a really beautiful question of who am I? I mean, that's such a simple question, but such a, how do we even begin to answer that? And it is something that I do ask fairly early on with anybody that I'm coaching, because we really need to find out what is that foundation that we have set up for ourselves. So, um, I'd love to hear from you a little bit about, bringing in the meditation on a more consistent basis and sitting with that question and where that journey took you.
Yeah, sure. Um, I think you raise a really, really valid point in the questioning of, who am I? And I love that so much, because I feel like for so long, um, along my journey of my career path and my personal life, I didn't actually take many opportunities to reflect on that or to ask that question. And the tools that that I've started to gather and kind of pull in from these different knowledge sources and these different I guess influences have started to help unwrap that. And you raise meditation as a really powerful tool, and I resisted that for a long time. I always thought it was something that was reserved for the very special. I always thought that I would, I had these preconceived ideas, collapsing the field, if you will, that it would, it probably wasn't for me. I didn't have very long attention span, when in fact it's exactly the reverse. So yeah, bringing in meditation as a daily practice has been an absolute transformation in the way that I'm able to disconnect and put down all those things that are kind of buzzing around in my head. Um, it's become a way for me to, I used to be someone who would wake up in the middle of the night and write lists. Like it was hectic. My mind was busy. It was just not busy in an effective way though. It was chaotic. So the meditation piece for me has brought, it's a sense of calm, and I know that sounds like a given, but it's a real calmness. It's a calmness where I can sleep through the night. It's the calmness where I can wake up in the morning and have clarity and have answers to things that I've just put to the side and let be. And you've taught me that. You've taught me to hand over my questions, which is certainly a practice that I do daily. But yeah, meditation has created a space for me to sit with my questions and to release my worries and to really have kind of access to an intuition that was always there, but I wasn't listening because it was too busy. It is such a gift.
Mm.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I feel like that's almost like mic drop moment. You that you know
Yeah.
the intuition was there, the answers are there. It's just that we're so busy
Yeah.
that we don't give ourselves space to hear it. And really, if people, I mean, there's so much to meditation, but if people really got that message from this recording today, I think what comes up for a lot of people is that we're scared of our feelings because we haven't really been taught how to manage them, or we think we haven't been taught how to manage them. And we've been taught to manage them in a way of just shove them aside, eat something else, drink something, smoke something, whatever.
Yeah.
And um, and so we're not familiar with that uncomfortable feeling. Yet if we can sit with that uncomfortable feeling, it will reveal to us something deep and true. And I love that you've said that the intuition was there, you just weren't really honoring it. Have you found that your own gifts and your own intuition have strengthened because you've been paying more attention?
1,000,000%, like
Mm,
without a doubt, without a doubt. Yeah, and that in itself is like, I don't know, I kind of liken it to my old self being this kind of childlike persona who was always seeking confirmation, validation. Is this okay? Like, is this the right choice? Am I doing this right? Should I do this? Like, to not have to seek confirmation out of yourself and to just have that sense of, okay, so we'll just feel into this, and what are my filters that I put these questions through? What's my checklist? How does that feel? Like, it literally is simple. um and I can't kind of grapple with how I've made it through life without that. Like, once you have a sense of just going, yeah, okay, like decision making 101, it seems like. But yeah, it's an absolute, yeah, game changer. Pretty cool.
mm. Yeah. And you're a mum of two, Littlies. So,
Mm.
and you've got a beautiful husband. What effect has that had on the rest of your life, like with regard to your children and being a mother and a wife, as well as being a businesswoman?
Yeah, far out. Look, I think it all starts with yourself and the way that you talk to yourself and the thoughts that you allow to kind of, kick around in your head, and that spills over into your interactions with your immediate circle, and then your extended circles. And with family, I think it's interesting because when you are dealing with the external world, there's almost another layer that you add with, politeness and all those filters that you put things through, which is just social, kind of etiquette. And with your family, you can be really raw. So I feel like sometimes when we're not our higher self, or we're not kind of fueled or full, with reserves to kind of deal with stuff, your immediate responses to your beautiful family, and it shouldn't be this way, but it is, can sometimes not be the best quality, or your best version of your response, like what you would like it to come out as. So I think when you can find that equilibrium, and you can find that kind of more peaceful state with yourself, you're able to kind of draw on those reserves to not have to try to give the best response, but you're coming from a place of kind of security, and you're just well resourced to deal with that. So the way I feel I am with my family now is really different. It's yeah, of course, I'm still human. I have days where I lose my shit, and I have days where I'm just a shambles. But on the whole, it feels like the flow is easier. The responses come more from a place of love and compassion, and I have more patience. And I think the dialogue that kind of is flowing in our household is different now too. Like the way I speak with David, and the level on which we sit together and kind of communicate and are with each other is different. Um, there's more kindness, there's more appreciation, and I feel like it all starts with you. It all starts with how you're feeling in yourself. And I'm certainly not preaching that I've got got it all together. But I feel like, if the question is around how does, working on yourself and having that sense of, kind of balance and intuitive knowing, how does that affect how you are with those that you love? It affects everything in every way. And it's so positive, and I'm so much more attuned to how they are talking to themselves.
Yeah.
So in the way that I pull myself up on how I'm thinking and talking to myself, I'm more mindful of watching, just observing how, how they respond to, challenges, or how they respond to, failures, mistakes, whatever. And really trying to bolster that sense of, I can do this, and I can, feel into what feels right for me, and I can say no, or I can say yes, and, all those things. So it's a beautiful way of course correcting, and just trusting yourself more. And the more that you trust yourself, the more they observe that, and it's the flow on effect is really cool.
Beautiful. I remember, it has me reflecting back to when my children were young, and that was when I first, began to start my meditation practice. My youngest son is, I have to quickly think about so 28. And he was just, like just crawling, just little when I began practicing meditation. And what I found, the noticeable difference for me was that I had more space between what occurred and how I responded to it. So that gives you choice, right? And again, like you say, nobody's perfect, and we're not meant to be. And I don't want to depict that in any way, shape, or form. I'm as messy as anything, because that's part of having the human process, is that we go through the chaos and the turmoil to understand ourselves at a deeper level. I mean, that's the golden rule, right? Know thyself. And meditation and having a strong practice that allows us to know ourselves at a deeper and deeper level is vital if we want to live a on purpose aligned life. And that's what you're saying, and it's what I've noticed in you. And I don't mean that to sound patronizing at all, because you're on your own path, and you're beautiful, and I love the fact that we get to have these conversations. It's that backing of yourself more, and I feel like that's the crucial thing that you've said here, is that you've known the intuition was there, you've known your gifts are there. It's that you've actually sat down and acknowledged them more. So I want to talk a little bit about that, because I've had a lot of women ask me, or people, but generally women, it's generally women that are attracted to my messages. How do you do card readings? How do you do these things? And I know that pulling cards is a part of a practice that you do on a regular basis. So I want to talk about that a little bit, because again, it comes back to our intuition. Everything's about our intuition. And yes, I believe all of us are psychic, and I do believe that we have access to um, other gifts as well. For me personally, definitely um, being psychic and very strongly intuitive from a very young age. However, my mediumship and clairvoyance really came along later in life, and that was because I was practicing it more.
Mm.
So I do feel that if it's a calling, that you can work with these things, and let's put the mediumship and the clairvoyance and those other clairs to the side for now, and let's talk about our intuition and our psychic abilities and our ability to receive the connection from divine, that we can, not only for ourselves. I feel like when we're doing readings as well, we have that opportunity to be able to guide other people. And this feels like an area that you're stepping more into. And so yeah, it'd be great to get your perspective on how is that for you, and how do you work with those energies.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'll definitely say that I'm at the beginning of my journey with these things. However, I feel like it's a daily practice for me. I do like to pull a card each day, and I feel like as part of my morning routine, it's just something that I don't know. It just rounds out my setup for the day, and for me, it's a beautiful confirmation always
Mm,
of whatever's kind of floating around, and and in the subconscious, and being able to just as we talked about that intuitive component, it lends itself so beautifully to that. I feel like it's an extension of that. I certainly look to spiritual teachers such as yourself, because I'm still learning, and as much as I can, I tune into your readings, and have a reading with you as often as I can, not as often as I would like to, but certainly you know watching those who are more experienced, and how you do it and how you interpret those messages is really helpful. And I feel like you know even at the very beginning of anyone's journey with something like this, just to not have expectations in the beginning, like just to be playful, to enjoy the process. And for me, that's very much still where I'm at. But interestingly, it blows my mind that it's always such a clear confirmation of the question that I'm holding in my mind, or the topic, or the whatever it might be that I'm trying to resolve or make a decision on. It is so pointed and it is so clear. And I often share this with David. So we rise at 5. That's our thing. We do that every day, and we'll sit there and we'll be doing our journaling after we've done our exercise routine. And not like aerobics or anything, like just our workouts. Got a visual there of David. But we'll do our journaling, and at that time I'll pull a card, and often David will say, "Oh, share," and he'll just smile because he gets it, and it's always so very clear. There's no dispute, like
mm,
it. And every time that I have actually pulled a card, I've never been kind of surprised. Um, so for me, whilst I'm still very kind of novice, um, it's such a powerful tool to have in your toolkit to kind of reinforce and support that journey of leaning further into those intuitive kind of guidance
mm,
resources. Yeah.
beautiful. And I often feel like when people are starting out, I suggest to people to use the same deck for a
Yeah.
while, because you get to know that deck and you get to trust that deck.
Mm,
And from time to time we will be guided to somewhere else and to use a different deck, and I certainly have that. I mean, a couple of weeks ago I was really guided to pull out Gabby Bernstein's deck again for my own personal reading in the morning. and it's interesting because she's been, back out doing a lot more out there. She's just, released her own podcast. So I find those are really poignant for me. And I've been working with, this beautiful deck, the Queen of the Moon Oracle um, deck, and there's a beautiful story with that I knew a few years ago that I would be called, that there was a new deck for me, and I was called, and I'd had the intuition to go to Crystal Castle at Byron Bay, or out the back of Byron Bay, for quite a while, and didn't, just kept putting it off, didn't quite get there. And then my youngest son moved up to Mullumbimby, so that was a beautiful sign to go, okay, let's go get this deck. And anyway, this was the deck that it was, and I've been working with this deck now for probably 2.5 years and doing the live readings with them, and it's just such a lovely deck, and it just works, and I'm all about the moon phases. So when I saw it, I thought, oh yeah, that makes sense. So I do suggest to people to use a consistent deck, so that you get to, it's through the consistency of anything, actually. It's consistency of exercise. You get to know yourself deeper when you come up against those parts that don't want to do it today, but you do it anyway.
Yeah.
Same with decks. So I love this. So I thought I'd pull us a card today. And look at this. Beginnings. I mean, it's so beautiful
Yeah.
that it just really, that's what living an aligned life is, in my opinion.
Mm.
It's that you have these inklings, you do these things, and then you have the evidence that just confirms it, that spirit just shows up and confirms it for you. So this is a beautiful card. You're walking through a new doorway. And I was telling Penelope earlier that I feel like I've been a bit, here and there with recordings of my podcast. But I've got this strong intuition that now's the time to get more regular with it, so that we can talk about these things. The world is changing,
Mm.
and we all have beautiful gifts to offer out into the world. And it doesn't mean we've all got to have, massive followings, but we do have followings. We have people that resonate with us, and I feel that very much for you also, Penelope. The women that you speak to, you're a businesswoman, you're a mama, you're a wife, and you've got so much wisdom to share. And I feel like there's a new beginning in that for you as well. However you do that, um, people can connect with you on Instagram, is probably
Yeah.
your strongest platform, would you say?
Yeah.
And it's inspiring life on Instagram. So it's inspiring underscore life underscore
Oh,
co. Yeah, beautiful. So if you want, I'll put it in the show notes so that people can connect with you. But I think that's really beautiful. Do you feel that there's, that newness, that beginning, as that card says, that's coming for you as well in your own work?
yeah, absolutely. I think just in the last wee while, there have been certain shifts in things that are kind of coming together with, convergence. And I feel like there are a couple of avenues that are opening up that are beautiful. And I definitely think that's down to just really leaning into that intuitive state. And also, we talk in our business world around, being a person of action and backing that up with consistency. So I feel like, yeah, there's a lot of growth happening. It's a very exciting time, and I'm very grateful to be in a circle with the likes of you, Kim. I feel like it's, yeah, like you say, the world is changing, things are changing, and I feel like there's never been a better time to be exploring, you know, how you can better resource yourself. I think resilience is the word that comes to mind. That is of utmost importance at the moment and moving forward. And I'm just really enjoying, where I'm at in my business. I'm really enjoying, these new beginnings and this new process on my personal kind of spiritual journey, which is really beautiful. So yeah, very exciting.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I know that I threw this on you last minute and you were so gorgeous. And you said, yes, yes, yes. So I'm really grateful. So please connect with Penelope over on Instagram. Listen to her live. She's got some beautiful wisdom and beautiful gifts to share. So thank you so much for your time, and sending you loads of love. And I'll get the show notes up, where people can connect with you as well. So thank you so much.
Gorgeous. Thank you, Kim.